Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're just waiting on a few more members to be able to get here. They were presenting bills in other committees and had other things going on, just trying to give them a few seconds. But we'll go ahead and get started with our Agriculture and Natural Resources Subcommittee. Kyle, if you would, please take the roll.
Vice Chairman Darby, Representative Fritz, Chairman Grills,
Here.
Representative Holsey, Representative Jones, Representative Reedy, Representative Shaw, Representative Todd, Representative Travis. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Kyle, for that. If you all would, please stand while Chairman Todd leads us in the prayer and the pledge.
Lord, we come to you thanking you so much for a beautiful day that you've provided us. Thank you for the opportunity we have to be here in this special place to represent our citizens and to do the work of the people, Lord, to protect their liberties and their freedoms. I just pray that you'd be with us today, provide wisdom, guidance, direction for us in every decision we make. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I caught myself thinking I was at church, and after you got done praying, I was sitting down. Do we have any personal orders this morning? I'll take one personal privilege. Mr. Eugene Hudgens, County Commissioner in Obion County back there to my left, a good man, a pillar in the community, lives in Obion, and just a good reputation throughout the county and always working hard for his county. So it's good to have you today, Mr. Eugene. Y'all make you feel welcome. And as we're maybe waiting just for just a little more time, give Tandy Darby just a little more time, and Representative Holsey. My wife sent me a text message this morning, and y'all, everyone knows I farm, but she says, I'm saying this with every ounce of love that I have for you in my heart. I'm not going to chase these baby calves every day while you're gone. So I would suggest if you want to get in politics, make sure your fences are good if you've got cows at home. I will be doing something about that there, Mr. Johnny. All right, we'll go ahead and get started with, if there's no other business, if there's no other personal orders, seeing none, let's go ahead and get started. First on our calendar, we have HB 1666, but we have a motion and a second. Representative Reedy, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And of course, that A1 on the marked calendar as far as amendment number 1, I wish to withdraw that at this time.
So without objection, withdraw.
And then that sends you to Chairman Todd.
Chairman Todd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have an amendment proposed, drafting code 13996 for this bill.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on amendment 13996 by Chairman Todd. All in favor of putting this amendment on the bill, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The amendment has been put on the bill. Chairman Todd, would you like to explain your amendment?
Yes, sir.
Now, just for the record, though, this is a friendly amendment. Is that correct,
Yes.
Chairman Reedy?
Yes.
Chairman Todd, you're recognized.
Thank you very much. And all this bill does, it does rewrite the bill, but it applies to 4 counties. It adds 4 counties that Chairman Reedy wanted to get added to the service area of the West Tennessee River Basin Authority. And it does that with some limitations. And those limitations are for technical, engineering services, and also project management service. So just consulting type services in those 4 areas, which are, I think, the most vital and critical things that they need right now. Chairman Reedy set up a meeting a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, to address some concerns in that area. And I attended that along with TDEC and many others. There were several organizations and agencies there to discuss what was going on the ground. And there are some system-wide issues that I believe the proper education and consulting will help resolve over a period of time. Some training for the folks that are actually out there on the ground doing this work, the county and municipals there, that departments that are out there physically doing work, plus landowners. So this allows them into the Basin Authority so that they can access that technical assistance from this point forward.
Chairman Todd, we have some questions from Representative Travis. Or do you have a question for the bill sponsor?
The amendment.
Okay, Chairman Todd.
And Chairman, does this affect the fiscal note on this bill?
Representative Todd.
Thank you for that question. We have not received a fiscal note back on this just yet. So I don't know that it will affect it. I would think if it does anything, it'll be positive, but I don't know that for sure. I have been assured that based on the estimates of what each one of the counties and municipals within these 4 counties would provide to the Basin Authority, there's a almost a membership type fee that they would pay every year, just like the current counties. There's a formula for that. It would generate probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 2/3 of what a position, an engineer position, would cost the Basin Authority. But I'm assured by the director that they will be able to absorb the remaining portion of that within the rest of their service area that of work they're already doing. He firmly believes they're going to be eligible for some more grants that they're not currently eligible for because of these 4 counties and the history of flooding, which will benefit these counties specifically, but would help sustain the rest of the work the Basin Authority does as well.
Are there any other questions? I also want to just add that the West Tennessee River Basin Authority, I've said over and over again how good a job they do with what they've been able to accomplish in the past, several years in West Tennessee, and then extending that over to help Chairman Reedy's counties out. That's a huge help. And this is whenever people can sit down and talk about solutions, this is what you can get to. The governor did not fund Chairman Reedy's bill originally, but having conversations and working things out, we're able to come to a solution, I feel like, that will be beneficial for not only West Tennessee, but also the counties that Representative Reedy represents there in Middle Tennessee. So with that, Chairman Reedy, you have anything to add?
I do appreciate the conversation. And of course, as you've already mentioned that, and that was that first 2 weeks that we rolled this piece of legislation. It was quite hopeful it would make it to the governor's budget. But as we know, we're going to have a budget deficit this year. And not only is it going to, did affect this piece of legislation, but there's many more of us that would like to get stuff funded, but that's where you just get the bite at the apple, and then you come back the next year to see what more you can get done. But with that, Mr. Chairman, I renew my motion.
All right. Seeing there's no more questions on House Bill 1666, all in favor of sending House Bill 1666 as amended to full committee, say aye. Any opposed? On the full, Chairman Reedy. Next on our agenda, we have House Bill 1902, Representative Burkhart. You have a motion and you have a second. You are properly before the committee, and I see an amendment here on your bill. Would you like to put the amendment on the bill, or would
Yes,
you like
sir.
to explain the amendment? What would you
Yes,
like?
sir. I'll just,
We have a motion on the amendment. We have a second on the amendment.
yes, sir, drafting code 13990.
13990. That's what I have.
Yes, sir.
All in favor of putting the amendment on the bill, say aye. Any opposed? The amendment's been put on the bill. Now, would you like to explain the bill as amended?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a pretty simple bill, but apparently it's been getting a lot of discussion. All this bill does is requires if a seller is under contract with a buyer to pay the rollback taxes, that those rollback taxes are collected at the time of closing. A lot of counties will not collect rollback taxes until a certain month. Most of the time, where I'm from in Montgomery County, it's March. So, but if you sell a piece of property in August and the closing agents do not collect the rollbacks until the following March. The problem with that is a lot of times sellers can change their mind about paying the rollback taxes, even though it's under contract. The only recourse that the assessor's office has is to attach the piece of land that's already been bought. So therein lies the problem. So all this is trying to do is get if it's under contract to pay the rollback by the seller, then they just collect them at closing. It's not any more work for the assessor's office, because they're either going to do it in the month that it closes, or they're still going to do the same amount of work in March if that's how they choose to do it. And I know in Montgomery County, I asked our assessor, who was all for this. She said it'd be great because she could do the work 12 months out of the year instead of having to do it all in 1 month. And I think in Montgomery County, which I couldn't think of many counties that would have more greenbelt because of the development that's going on around Clarksville and Montgomery County, we only had 70. So it's not a huge number that this is. And she said take about an hour and a half to 2 hours to do each one. So you're talking about 140 hours of total man time in a year. That doesn't seem like a whole lot to me, but, and I'm here to ask any questions. Anybody has any?
First on the list, we have Representative Travis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative, if my understanding from your and I conversation, the Greenbelt rollback taxes is 3 years
Yes, sir.
back. That's what you owe them, the 3 years back.
Correct.
Representative Burkhart,
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Representative Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Representative. You and I talked about this, and one of my property assessors is the president of the property assessors group,
Mm.
and she was strongly against this. Do you know why? She mentioned input time that it was going to require, and I've heard your explanation of that. But any other reason? You talked about you had some personal experience with this same kind of thing.
Representative Burkhart.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, if a seller decides not to do it, and then all they can do is come back and attach your piece of property that you've already bought. I don't understand that particular problem because they've either got to do the work as it closes, or they got to do the work in a specific month. Like in Montgomery County, it's March, and it may be March in all of Tennessee. I'm not sure. But the work is the work. You still have to do it. You're just spreading it over 12 months instead of one. So I don't understand that argument.
Representative Fritz.
Just one follow-up. When you and I talked, you'd had a personal issue with this as well, too, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman. Yes,
ahead.
sir. If when I bought a piece of property and they didn't sell it and they didn't pay the rollback, and then again, my property gets attached from I ended up, it took me a month or two, but I finally got the seller to pay it, but I was just lucky.
So you're saying that you had a piece of property that you sold with the seller, they were supposed to pay the rollback taxes. When you purchased it, they did not. So therefore they can put a lien on the property that you bought free and clear.
Well, the way the law is, sorry, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
the way the law is now, the taxes are not collected until March.
I got you.
And if I close back in August, then they're not looking for that tax until March. But if that seller says between August and March, change their mind, said, look, I'm not, I mean, we could be talking about 40, 50, or $100,000. They could go, oh, I'm not going to pay that. And then next thing, the only thing the assessor's office can do is attach my piece of property that I bought in good faith.
Are there any other questions? Chairman Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is there anything in this that enforces the re-enrollment at closing, that if they intend to keep it Greenbelt, let's say the buyer tells the seller, I plan to continue it in Greenbelt, so the seller says, okay, I have no liability. I'm thinking about it from the seller standpoint as well. I see your point, and it's an excellent point, but is there anything in this that enforces that to re-enroll at closing and kind of make that decision?
Representative Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, if you're going to re-enroll, there's no need to collect the tax. So, if it's under contract and you're buying a farm to farm, you're going to say, I'm going to re-enroll. It won't be in the contract that the seller's paying them. You're just going to say, I'm going to re-enroll, no problem. And you just move on.
Chairman Todd.
I guess what I'm asking is, and I'm getting something from my assessor as well, that some concerns, and this was one of them. But to enforce that, to say that they actually do follow through with re-enrolling it in Greenbelt and maintain that for the 3 years, that the seller then has some liability.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Well, if I don't contractually have the seller pay it, then it's all on me anyway. Then if I choose to do it, then it's just up to me anyway. So all we're talking about is when it's in the contract that the seller's paying. If it's not in there, then it's on the buyer anyway.
Chairman Todd.
Thank you for that. And that does make sense. Obviously, it gets back to that lien. If you're the one making the change, then you've got the risk of having that lien on your property.
Absolutely.
The required mapping and revising land grades and things like that is another concern. The timing that they're going to have to invest to be able to say, here's what the rollback taxes are. Is there some method or that they have to go through some procedure to tell the seller if there is a rollback due at sale? Is there something the assessors are having to do that puts them in a position of an increased amount of time or an urgency that they may not be able to comply with?
Representative Burke.
Well, in a normal closing time, it would probably be a 20 to 30-day closing period. In that time, the attorney would contact the assessor's office, say, hey, we're going to do this. The seller is responsible for the Greenbelt. Can you figure them for me? According to my assessor, it takes about 1.5 to 2 hours to figure a rollback tax. So, again, we're either going to figure them per closing. Not everyone's going to be that. Like I said, we only had 70 in Montgomery County. So not every one of them is going to be that way. The buyers, sometimes if a farmer's just buying for another farm, he's just going to keep on going. So of those, we're probably only talking about, let's just say even half of them would be 35 to 40. You're talking about 80 hours total in a year. So.
Representative Todd.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm being told that there are many offices that may not be able to get it done in that time frame. Have you had any input from the Assessors Association groups of their concerns, any specifics that you can kind of help address just to make sure we're covering all the bases?
Representative Burkhart.
Thank you, Chairman. I've had a lobbyist talk to me from that organization. They're saying that the man hours, and then, again, it's the same man hours, whether we're going to do it in March or we're going to do it throughout the year. So I don't really understand that argument. Again, I just can't, I'm sorry, I just don't understand that.
Representative Todd, you done? We'll go to Shaw first, and then we'll go back to you, Mr. Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just had received a text from my folks who were saying the man hours or the people, they didn't have enough people to get it done within a month. They didn't sound like it would be that bad if it was stretched out for some length of time. But the time period, I think, in which the bill is presented would be a problem for them.
Representative Burkhart.
Well, if they have a month to close in 30 days, or they have to do them all in March, it's the same 30 days, either one of them.
Okay.
What we're trying to do is stretch it out over 12 months. And my assessor at home said, absolutely, we'd love to have 12 months to do rollbacks and not have to do them all in March. So, 30 days is 30 days, whether it's March or whether it's a closing. And it's like I said, my assessor said it only takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours to do a rollback figure. So if it's not like you're doing, like I said, Montgomery County only did 70 in the entire year. So, we're not talking about a whole lot of hours, I don't think.
Are you saying, what you're saying though, is they could do them as the closings
Absolutely.
came to them rather than building them all up at once and having to, catalogs of them?
Absolutely.
Representative Shaw.
And it may be that a lack of misunderstanding could be, I certainly, I'm not totally against your legislation. I don't know if I could, I'll just say this and you can decide. I'd like for you to roll it a week so I could just get a clear understanding of what's going on. I'm not against your legislation.
I already wrote it once, and I think I've explained it as good as I can. And the assessors if the assessors are against this, I don't think they understand it.
What if we were to go ahead and move it forward and have the full committee next week, Chairman Todd? Have the assessors could come in, that way the whole committee would be there to ask questions. And at that point, if we saw that there was a need to make amendments or anything of that
Okay.
nature, as long as they're not substantive, I don't.
Absolutely.
Representative Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just on the common sense part of it, when we talk, Jeff, I like the common sense part of it, but this is the only thing that this property assessor has ever told me, absolutely do not vote for this. And so mine would be similar to Representative Shaw is, could we push this thing out some and take some input from perhaps the president of the association as to how we could reconcile some of these problems?
Well, Mr. Chairman, if we go, if the chairman go on to next week, I'll be glad to answer any questions anybody's got. And again, we're just trying to keep it to where when something is under contract and it closes, that 6 months later, somebody can't come and file a lien on your property. And that is not good.
What if we were to go ahead and move this on to full committee?
Sure.
If the committee
Yeah.
votes for it, and we got questions been called on the bill. And then we were to, my thought was if we can move this to full committee and let it sit and make sure we get all the answers, but have the full committee there to answer the questions. So when the assessors or the representative of the assessors could be here to answer those questions for the full committee.
Yeah.
Does that seem reasonable? The question's been called on the bill. All in favor of sending House Bill 1902 to full committee, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no.
No.
If you're,
Abstain.
the ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr.
If you
Chairman.
wish to be recorded as a no, let the clerk know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Next, we have House Bill 1734. We have a motion and a second. More Greenbelt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. This bill deals with the definition of agricultural land as it pertains to qualifying for the Greenbelt. It makes two changes. The two changes deal with non-contiguous parcels. And what's starting to happen is as matriarchs and patriarchs pass away, smaller farms are divided up. And right now, a parcel can be divided by water, a private or public easement, or a road. What this bill proposes, that it could be two contiguous parcels that are located in the same county, but together meet the threshold of 15 acres. One being where you have 15 acres, and then another parcel that may be 8 acres. The 8 acres wouldn't qualify now because it isn't separated by one of those three items. If this bill is passed, that 8 acres would be. And this helps keep farmland in production and actually meets the thrust of the Greenbelt laws that was passed in 1976. 8 acres, you can put a lot of houses on. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I stand ready for questions.
Do we have any questions of the sponsor, Chairman Reedy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Chairman Moon, I appreciate it. It was quite some time ago. We had a conversation on this piece of legislation, and you had another one, and I guess we were in mutual agreement. This is the one that you needed to move forward. And of course, you're in stating that acreage size for farms are getting smaller all the time. And we're finding out many, especially in the Davidson County area, they're growing and producing a lot of produce in such a small area. And I get it. It's these smaller farms, it's somehow we need to figure out how to protect them, keep them in production. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Do you have a response, Chair?
No,
Representative?
thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Representative Fritz?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the bill. I think this is one of those things we're doing to keep up with the way things are changing. I think this is important. Where family farms may have been 40, 50 acres at one point in time. What you've done with this, I think, is going to help small farmers out. So I appreciate you running.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're recognized. Are there any other questions? Question's been called on the bill. All in favor of sending House Bill 1734 to full committee, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it on the full committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Seeing that there is nothing else in our committee, I'm going to ask Tyler to give us words of wisdom of the day so we can get out of here.
Good morning, everyone. Today's words of wisdom come to you from a 2-time WWE champion, 4-time WCW world champion, and 14-month reign as the Intercontinental champion. The words of wisdom are from Macho Man Randy Savage. There's one guarantee in life. There are no guarantees, yeah. And understand this, nobody likes a quitter. Have a good day, you macho maniacs.
With that, we are adjourned.